Welcome everybody to another edition of Inside the Cardinal Playbook, sponsored by UPS, 5510 and Northeast Antioch Road in North Kansas City. Coach, we're going to talk a little bit about Saturday's ball game, and it was kind of a tale of two halves. You know, when you coach, it's a difficult task in a lot of ways. There's so many things you've got to take into play, but I thought this was really kind of a dichotomy of two halves. Like I said, we came out, had the opportunity to really jump on them, had some opportunities to jump on them, and then the worm kind of turned in the second half.
Yeah, you know, it was, from a scoring standpoint, completely different from the second half to the first half. I would argue that from an emotional standpoint, from a just how we played standpoint, that we didn't play very well in the first half either. You know, the score didn't show. You know, we ended up being up 7-6 at the end of the first half, but we played very emotionless. I didn't recognize the team I saw out there, and I talked to them about that was my halftime talk, and the first time I've done a halftime speech in a tent.
Yeah, I was going to say we needed to break out some marshmallows and have a little weenie roast over there.
The first pregame, talk, or the first halftime talk in a tent. But that was what it was. But I talked to them about at halftime that I don't see the desire. I don't know if we're cold or literally physically cold or what it is, but we don't look like ourselves. We haven't executed like we need to execute. I don't see us playing with the emotion that you have to play this game with. And to their credit, they responded at the beginning of the second half, and we got a big
interception,
a big takeaway to start, march down, score the ball. And then some other things happened, with some turnovers, and they got, we allowed them to stay. And we talked about this last week, that an offense like that, a wing T type offense,
right,
or single wing, whatever you want to call those things, when you allow them to stay in what they do and do what they do, at some point they are going to start to get some momentum there. And they did that, and that was the frustrating thing. What we needed to do was separate ourselves from them and make them play catch up, which is, in my mind, how I envisioned us playing this game.
That was in the game plan.
Yeah, that was.
We talked about it on Monday.
And we had our opportunities to do that, and we didn't get it done. And when you allow a team with an offense like that, and defensively too, from an emotion standpoint, to stay in it and stick around at the end of the game, especially when you're playing at home and the environment we were playing in and all the other different things that go along with that, it's going to be a boxing match. And a lot of times on the road, you're not going to come out on top of those boxing matches. And we didn't, that's what happened to us on Saturday, and we can point at a lot of things as to why. We earned that loss. We earned it. You earn your wins, you earn your losses. Sometimes you play teams that overmatch you. And we've been in those situations this year, too.
We have.
We played teams that overmatched us. Saturday, we earned that one. We did. I'm not saying the players. We did as a team. And that means I've got to do better. Our players have got to do better. Our coaches have got to do better. In all of those situations, we have got to do better. And we've got to be able to, when we have opportunities to pull away, we've got to do that. And, we're up 14-6 going into or towards the end of the third quarter. And we've got to be able to shut the door on some things when we get to that point, and we didn't get that done.
Yeah, I kind of related, I think, if you talk about your halftime speech in the tent, I kind of related to probably you're looking at your team, and do you really want to be the lion? Everybody in the jungle's hungry.
Yeah.
Everybody's got that growling belly.
Right.
But who eats every time? The lion.
Yeah.
Because he gets it.
Exactly.
And that's exactly what I think your situation was on Saturday, and I think that's part of building a program. You need to have 11 lions out on the field all the time.
All the time. And, you can make the excuse about youth sometimes in those environments doesn't handle as well as
But
a
how
veteran
hungry
team.
are you?
But at the end of the day, we play this game, and we're all, the ones that have played it and who are involved in it or have coached it, you play it for the competition, and you play it for the fight.
Right.
A fight in a figurative sense, that you get a line up across from a guy every single play, and one-on-one battles equal team victories. Whoever wins more of those one-on-one battles wins the team battle, which usually wins the game. And we didn't win enough of those one-on-one battles on Saturday. That being players on the field, coaches on the sideline, because the battle for me is with the coach across the way, the battle with our offensive coordinators, the defensive coordinator, the battle with our so all of those
little battles going on in the total war.
It's an unbelievable game that we get to play, and to play it the way we played it on Saturday. All of us, in somewhat, we did the game a disservice by not playing it with as much emotion as we want to play this game. And you know, that's something the players we've talked about with them, and they completely get. They're the ones that told me that and gave me those ideas, and I'll shoulder this one. You know, it's my responsibility to make sure we're ready to play in those conditions, and we've got to do a better job of doing that. And you know, at the end of the day, you know, we've got to fight more in those situations. Figuratively, I'm not saying fight from an after the whistle thing, but the battle. We've got to battle harder.
But you got to remember, Coach, you got to keep it in perspective with your coaching staff and your team, and I think you have. And I think what you're trying to say is it's a teachable moment.
Absolutely.
And how much does it hurt, and do you want to hurt it like that again?
You know, a game like that hurts more than teams where you know you were outmatched, because, you know, we had our opportunities to pull away from it. And, you know, one could say in some sense in the first half, in some areas of the game, even in the beginning of the second half, we were visibly, because of the way the game was going, we were the better team. We were playing like we were the better team. It didn't end up that way. You watch the fourth quarter, and it's completely flip-flopped. Yeah. You know, they're the best team in the fourth quarter by far, because they got momentum, played with emotion. We succumbed to some things and some adversity, and didn't play. We didn't match their intensity nor match their emotion, and thus, you know, the result ended up what it was.
Well, we'll get back to the second segment. We'll talk a little bit about some of the positive things that I think we did do on the field. I think we need to keep that in mind as well.
No doubt.
Because we did a lot of good things, and we'll come back to you. And again, thanks for UPS 5510 Northeast Antioch Road for supporting the William Jewell Cardinals.
As you break the film down, though, you see, you know, we missed some gaps in the first half too, though. They just didn't quite find them.
So, I'm my own man. I can work from home. I can make meetings, I can make deadlines, I can make proposals, I can remember birthdays, I can entertain clients, I can pay for lunch. Yeah, I can do it 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 3:15, I can do anything. Done, on it, yes, taken care of. 50 two-sided bound color presentations by tomorrow, I can do that. How do I do that? I love logistics.
At Poor Boy Oil Company, we want to meet people interested in joining our family. Employment benefits include paid vacations, health care, life insurance, and 401k plans. If you are growth-oriented, flexible, focused on high quality, analytical, and have common sense, you have what it takes. If you are interested in exploring a career opportunity with Poor Boy Oil Company, please take a moment to apply online at poorboyoil.com.
Welcome back to Inside the Cardinal Playbook, sponsored by UPS 5510 Northeast Antioch Road, and we're going to talk a little bit about our offense. And I'm telling you, Mose has got to be leading the conference in passing. It seems like he's got 10 to 15 catches every game and over 100 yards. And your short passing game, really your passing game overall, has really had a pretty good year.
Yeah, you know, we've done some good things there. And honestly, I couldn't tell you how many catches Johnny had on Saturday. I should know those things, but because of how the game went and just some things that I know we need to do better. And John, if he was sitting here with us, will tell you he should have made more plays on Saturday. And
most good players do.
Yeah, and so, you know, he's doing some really good things for us. He's a great big target that has good body control.
Real mismatch with those 5'8" and 5'9" quarter.
And that's a good thing. And him and Sean have a lot of cohesion right now, and so that's a very positive thing, you know, going forward for us as well. And it has been all year. And you know, so we've got to continue to build upon that.
The Buffalo boys have been doing well too.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of guys contributing right now. You know, they're all frustrated right now because of how that game turned out, and they all, and all of us. It's like any game. We can all look at one play in a game and know that we could have done
made
better.
A difference.
And who knows in games where's the tipping point of where the momentum changes or those type of things. So they'll all be critical of themselves right now and think they should play better. But what we got to remember is that there's a lot of them playing very well. And as coaches, we strive for perfection. And as players, you strive for perfection as well. And anything short of perfection, especially when you don't win, is frustrating. But we've got to continue to accentuate the positives there too. And we're doing some really good things. And offensive line wise, we're getting more healthy. And we saw that a little bit on Saturday in some spots. And run game wise, we've got to continue to try and build that and get that back to maybe where it was at another point in time when maybe we were a little bit more healthy and get back in that flow. But we did some good things there. And, Sean, quarterbacks, most of them are going to be a little bit beat up towards this time of the season. And he's got some bumps and bruises as well. But, he did some good things again on Saturday. He'd like to have a few things back, just like every single player out there would have.
You would like to have a couple calls back.
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely some things that if we could, life would be great, right? If we could rewind and redo.
That second golfer, when you putt twice.
Yeah, he's
always
good,
make that second one.
Pretty good, isn't he? And unfortunately, life doesn't credit us with those type of things. But defensively, I thought we did some really good things too in the first half, especially.
Yeah, I thought you did a really good job because that's a low-risk offense, and if you could contain it, like you guys did do that the first half.
Yeah, we did.
They came in with a little bit more double lead at you though, and that type of thing.
In the second half, they ran some of that in the first half, and we got the ball on the ground and felt good about it. I think they had 40 yards rushing at half, and for an offense like that, you're going to feel pretty good about that. As you break the film down, though, you see. We missed some gaps in the first half too, though. They just didn't quite find them.
Right.
And we were able to get them out of what they wanted to do a little more and get them into some more passing situations where they're going to try and spread the field, and that's not their MO. And had some success doing that in the first half and beginning of the second half, but we didn't maintain that throughout the course of the game. We allowed them to stay in, that wing T stuff, what they do, and as long as they've been running it for the last 15, 16 years, you become very good at starting to find some things and some weaknesses, and they found some and they exploited them, late in the third quarter and the fourth quarter, and we got on our heels a little bit defensively and
started catching
got a little bit tired and started catching a little bit more, and we didn't do a very good job defensively in the second half of doing some of the same things that we did in the first half. And those things are going to happen to you sometimes, but you've got to be able to match intensity. And when momentum gets going, you've got to be able to counter it. And we didn't get to that point on Saturday.
Well, we'll go back to our third segment here in a second, and then we'll talk a little bit about specialty teams, and we'll get into this week against S&T, another big conference game, a ball game I felt like we should have got last year, and hopefully we'll get this year. And again, we want to thank UPS 5510 Northeast Antioch Road, North Kansas City, for supporting William Jewell Cardinals. We'll be right back at you.
Our margin for error is significantly less than a lot of other folks.
This is corporate headquarters. As you can see, I have a unique business. How do I compete with the big boys? Got this fancy business address, a marketing department, distribution center, got a great team, even a cafeteria.
That's mine.
From packing and shipping to printing and mailbox services, come into the UPS store for everything a small business needs.
I love logistics.
It's tailgating time, so I'm picking up some onions and cheese for my burger recipe. No matter what team you're cheering for, you're going to be a huge fan of my special burger with red onion marmalade and blue cheese. Why is it so good?
Why?
Because it's my recipe. Who cares about the football when the burgers are so good? Now we'll really hear them cheer. Who wants a burger? I do! Come and get it.
Welcome back to the Inside the Cardinal Playbook, sponsored by UPS 5510 Northeast Antioch Road, North Kansas City. And we'll talk a little bit, Coach, about specialty teams, which I think has been pretty solid, pretty much a strength for the Cardinals all year. But I thought we had some problems a little bit, particularly on the kickoff team, and we'll talk about that.
Yeah, as I watched the game, unfold, the emotion that we talked about earlier in the show here, and you and I have talked about a lot today, it wasn't just one area.
Right.
It was
Yeah.
all the way through.
Well, it's 3 phases of the game, but
yeah,
defense, offense, and special.
It was in every phase. And again, you know, I told our players this at halftime. I don't know if we're cold, literally physically, because that's the way we're playing, like we're cold and brittle and fragile. And we played like that in every phase to some sense. At some point during the game, you know, kickoff's been one of our biggest strengths all year. Our kickoff coverage has been tremendous.
It really has.
We may be leading the conference. I think we have been the last couple of weeks. And then on Saturday, we weren't near as good there either. And you know why? I wish I had all the answers. They'd be easy to fix.
We'd be wealthy people.
Yeah, you know, and I don't know why those things happen or why, you know, it happened on Saturday. All I can do is continue to look at our approach and what we're doing and how we're doing it and see what's changed and what's different. And you know, I'm still trying to find what that is. But we've got to be better there. You know, our punt was pretty good again. That was one phase that I thought was.
You might have talked about you lost your punter too.
Yeah, Zane got rolled up on in the course of a punt and had a knee issue, which we're still trying to figure it all out. And so he's questionable a little bit for the weekend, and we'll kind of see where that goes as we go forward through the next couple of weeks here. But you know, we did some other good things. You know, our return games got to continue to get better. Our kickoff coverage has got to get back to where it was the rest of the year, and not particularly this last week's game. And then you know, our punt continues to be a solid area for us. And you know, if Zane is indeed hurt and isn't going to be playing, then we've got to look at some other you know, areas where we can, you know, take advantage of some things there, some different players in that spot, and which we have. We just, you know, the approach may be just a little bit different there.
Yeah, your long snapper Swoboda. I know that, you know, he's kind of had some nagging injuries too. You know, and you know the timing. And I was talking to his dad homecoming a couple weeks ago, because we know some people in St. Louis, common friends, and the whole specialty team units, all of them that you were just alluding to, it's not any different than offense and defense. You have to get that rhythm together.
Exactly. The only difference there is in special teams is there's no 5-10 play drives.
Right.
You get one chance.
Yeah,
and you better be ready when that ball's kicked off or when, you know, the ball snapped on a punt block or whatever. You better be ready.
No do-overs.
Because you don't get a do-over unless there's a penalty.
Right.
You don't get a do-over. You get one shot. And Coach Weigel does a great job of teaching players in that, you know, in that sense that, hey, you get one shot here. Make the most of your opportunity every single time. And, you know, it was good to get Thomas back from a long snapping perspective. We still limited him defensively. We didn't put him in on defense because, you know, we're not completely 100% yet on that injury. But I think we're going to be closer to that this weekend. At least we're hoping, and, you know, hoping to get some of those other guys. You know, Sam Jacks didn't travel with us this last weekend. Our starting,
and he was playing really well before he got hurt.
And Trey Talley, who had done some really good things at free safety for us, didn't travel last weekend because of some injury things. And so we're hoping by this Saturday we get those guys back and can get those guys back in the rotation and get rolling again too. But, you know, special teams, we did some good things there. Have we been as good there as we've been the last couple of weeks? Probably not, but that you can say that about every phase of the game on Saturday. We weren't as good as we needed to be for the entire course of the game to win a game like that.
Well, I think people have to understand also, Coach, and I hope you agree with me on this, that the margin of error as far as mistakes, particularly on specialty teams, but on offense and defense, but in areas like penalties, turnovers, and specialty teams, those are 3 areas that you can't afford to lose the battle in that, because you're building the program. And you know,
our margin for error is significantly less than a lot of other folks. Here's one area, and I'm glad you brought this up. Here's one area that I told our team yesterday that I thought we did a tremendous job on Saturday. We did a great job of playing the game within the confines of the rules on Saturday. And I don't know if you guys noticed this. There were 12 penalties on Saturday.
Right.
You know how many were on William Jewell? One.
I think that was right.
So we did a very good job of playing the game inside the confines of the rules, but sometimes in doing that you don't play it as aggressive as you need to play. And, you know, so that's the frustrating thing there. They gave us some yardage and we didn't take advantage of that too. But, you know, I gave our team credit for that, because that's a big deal.
Yeah.
You know, that means you're playing smart football, not necessarily aggressive football, but you're playing smart football. And, so we've got to look at that positive as well. But you're right. Our margin for error where we're at right now as a program is significantly less than a lot of folks. We can't afford to take a play off or a game off or a quarter off or a half off and expect to come out on top of those games. We just can't do it.
Well, we'll get back at you here in our last segment. We'll talk about S&T a little bit. I believe it's 1 o'clock start down in Rolla, and we'll get to talk about our opponent next Saturday.
They will get some three-back sets, albeit it's a little different three-back look than what we saw last week.
I'm going to change the world. I've got computers, I've got financing, I've got clients. I've got a business plan. I have VC money. I've got a game-changing idea. I've given myself room to grow. We're dangerous. Very dangerous. This is only the beginning. I'm going to own the future. There's just one problem. I don't know how to print this.
Professional printing.
Help?
And everything else a small business needs. Now at the UPS store.
I love logistics.
I'm Rick Cole of the William Jewell College Sports Network, here with Mary Beth Boone of Aunt Mary's Cookies.
We want you to come to the Jewell volleyball game on October 30th against Rockhurst, because it's Milk and Cookies night with Aunt Mary's Cookies. Aunt Mary's will provide cookies and milk for your enjoyment that night. So come and visit us when William Jewell takes on Rockhurst. Aunt Mary's is located in North Kansas City. We have a full cafe and deli, as well as fresh baked goods daily.
And don't forget to join us October 30th at 7 p.m. as the Cardinals take on Rockhurst University in volleyball. We hope to see you there.
Welcome back to our last segment of Inside the Cardinal Playbook, sponsored by UPS, 5510 Northeast Antioch Road in North Kansas City. Coach, we got another big conference game, one that we both felt, and I know your entire squad and coaching staff felt like we should have got last year. Great football game. And I thought it was one of the better football games we've played in the last 3 or 4 years. It was a great game to watch, if nothing else.
Yeah, last year at S&T, it was, we spotted them, I think, 14 points in the first half and then came roaring back.
You looked like that line I was talking about that was hungry.
Yeah, we did, and we played that way, and we played inspired, and we played physical, and we played aggressive, and, all of those things that we need to do again to win a game like that. And that was a lot of fun. It's one of those games, we've talked about it before, that's one we ran out of time in the end. We lost by a 2-point conversion.
I absolutely agree with you.
Because we had the momentum, everything was going the way you want it to go. We didn't get to that point early enough in that game. And S&T's 5-1 right now, I think. And,
yeah, they are
playing really, really, really well and inspired football. And they're starting 9 seniors on offense, and they've got a bunch of guys that are athletic on both sides of the ball.
Build up for this year.
Right, exactly. They've been at the Division II level for a long, long time.
Right.
And there was a point in the past where they were really good for a long period of time, 10-year stretch probably, where they were really good. It'd been a little while, and they're getting back to some of that now. I think last year they may have finished 7-4 or something like that. And they've got some horses that have been around a little bit longer at that level of play, when you start 9 seniors offensively, you've got a really good chance of putting up a lot of points. And they're doing that right now in just about every ball game they're playing. And defensively, what they do from a scheme standpoint is really difficult to break down and attack because it's really random. And, they're kind of all over the place with it. It's controlled chaos. And
they come with the blitz a lot, don't they?
Their head coach is tremendous. Dave Brown has done a tremendous job there of changing that roster over in the athleticism that they brought to it and the size up front and all the things, and the maturity. And he handles a lot of what they do defensively and has been doing it for a long time. I think he is extremely intelligent on what they do defensively. Trust me, their players know what's going on.
Yeah.
I say
it's
just controlled
like the kids
chaos.
Here, they're smart kids.
Yeah, it's controlled chaos. They know exactly where they're going to end
up.
It's just hard for an opposing offense to figure that out and break that down because it's all over the place. It's all over the map. And that's what makes them so hard to, attack offensively and then defensively defend because of the, 9 seniors on offense and the things that they can do and the confidence they have in what they're doing and all of those things. And then as much athleticism they've added to the roster in the last several years, the athleticism that they now have in the special teams area too transpires to something that again is very hard to go up against. But we did it last year, and our players believe that they're not that far away from being that team, And, you know, we've got to go over there on Saturday and show it.
We'll be looking at a more traditional thing than we did last week with the wing tee. We're going to see more spread look.
Yeah, we'll see more. We'll see more traditional as we think of.
You guys think it is traditional, I don't.
Yeah, traditional offense, more of a spread look, and you know, 2 backs in the backfield instead of 3. They will get in some 3-back sets, albeit it's a little different 3-back look than what we saw last week. But you know, it'll be a little bit more conventional. Is it totally conventional? No, but you know. It wouldn't be football if you didn't have to work at trying to defend those things and offensively try and attack those things. That's, again, as you remember, and the players too, and I talked to the players yesterday about why do we do this? Why do we play this game? Why do we coach this game? And, you know, it's the journey and the X's and O's and the breaking down a team and it's the chess match. And if you didn't have that, this game would be a whole lot less intriguing for the people that were coaching it and playing it and the people watching it, because those dynamics make this game tremendous.
Well, my wife calls it the sickness, and she obviously knows, and I think that's probably...
That may be the best way to describe it.
She would just shake her head, and we've been married 32 years, and she says, you just got the sickness. I don't know how else to explain it, but it is hard to find anything else in life that takes the place of being on a team and competing. There's there's nothing, and I'm an old man, and I can't find anything.
I think the people who are watching and the people that have been involved in this game, and in sports particular, but in this game for sure, the things you get out of this and the emotion that you get and the camaraderie and all the different dynamics that go into it. You know what we're talking about here, and some other folks may not, and you know, it's something that you can't describe or put into words. And what I would say, you know, we've talked about a lot of things with our players here and our coaches and frustrations that we have with ourselves right now about, you know, maybe not getting the result we all wanted on Saturday because of, you know, the way we approached it or what have you. I don't know. I still don't know what it is. But, you know, I've got the most belief in this team that I've had in a team I've coached in a long time. You know, the ability's there, the desire is there. What happened Saturday, I can't put my finger on that. Our players, you know, those things happen sometimes. But, you know, I believe we're going to go out and win this Saturday. People will think I'm crazy that whatever our record is going up against a 5-1 team who's, you know, first or second in the conference and getting some votes in the national rankings as well is a tall order. Is it a tall order? Sure it is. Do I think we can do it? Absolutely. And that'll be the plan we take into Saturday, is that we're going down there to win the game, and we're going to do everything we can to get to that result.
Well, I hope all of you will saddle up with us, because we're going to be down there and we're going to show up on time. We're going to all be on the bus, and I sure hope all the Cardinal fans will be right there with us. Right. Again, that's a 1 o'clock start down in Raleigh. I want to thank all of you for another edition of Inside the Cardinal Playbook, sponsored by UPS 5510 Northeast Antioch Road, and we'll support those Cardinals all we can on Saturday.